Hello and welcome to my hobby bench. So I'm in the middle of disassembling a customer's two-stroke engine, and I thought I'd take this opportunity, since I just went through this, to explain my methodology for and what's required to remove the piston and connecting rod from a two-stroke engine where it seems like you're having a lot of difficulty doing it, and it's like, oh, it just won't come out. There's no access hole to remove the piston pin. And the reason there's not a hole or an access port to remove the piston pin is because you don't need to do that to remove them on probably 100% of the two-stroke engines I've ever seen. And the key is, and as you can see I've already removed this, the key is this is a very, very low time engine. And this is it. I haven't cleaned this. This is a OS Max 32F-HX helicopter engine, and it's basically brand new as far as I'm concerned. Now, yes, did it have some runtime on it? Yes, it had a little bit of runtime on it, but the smallest amount of runtime can be enough to make the piston come off very difficult, or the piston connecting rod combination come off the crankshaft very difficult. And the reason I'm doing this is because the customer wants these bearings replaced, and it was stuck. This engine was completely stuck. So the thing is this, is that you're sitting there and you're trying to get in there, and I'll use tools like this to get in there and just kind of grab the connecting rod and get it into the position to come off. Now, if you can look in here and you can see in this particular engine, there's this nice cutout engine here. That's because the connecting rod and piston combination need to come off with this thing at top dead center, so that you can just pop that thing off and it comes right out of that cutout. Now, not every engine has that nice little cutout like that. But the reason you'll be like, oh, I just had somebody doing a Super Tiger engine saying, I just can't get this thing out. I just can't get it out. I was like, well, it'll come out. And here's why. So if you look underneath the piston, and obviously it's very easy to see this when it's out. It's not so easy to see when it's in there. But if you look at the thickness of the connecting rod itself, is usually the same here as it is down there where the wrist pin. But the key is the piston has to be able to move through its full movement each way like this. Now what will happen with an engine is it'll get stuck in one position or stuck right in the middle, and it'll turn over and everything will seem fine. It'll run fine, but that connecting rod is actually stuck on the piston pin just like that. And until you free that up and get it to do this, it's never going to come off. And it just takes a lot of heat, oil, and I usually drop some LA's Totally Awesome in there, because as you can see, hopefully you can see how shiny that wrist pin is. And it's like, wow, it's so shiny. Why would I have such a hard time getting it off? I can't explain that, but it doesn't take much accumulation at all, because that wrist pin or piston pin is perfect. It's shiny as hell. So it took me about 10 to 12 minutes of working with this. And what you'll also find is that you see how it does this? Well, a piston, it also has to be free this way. So what will happen is it'll get stuck, and the piston will get stuck in this position, but because of its movement up and down, it'll force it to move like that. But if it's not freely moving, because when these will come out, they'll come out and they'll be really stiff. This took, in and of itself, 2 minutes for me to get it this free. So I didn't want to disassemble this. I didn't want to pull this pin out or anything like that, because it's not necessary. So what I did was I just heated it up, put some oil in there, and with a glove on my hand, I just sat here and did this until I could get it to the point of this. But believe me, when it first came out of the engine, it wasn't. It was like stuck in one of these positions, and I could see it, and I just had to keep pulling, heating, pulling, rotating it through until it finally just moved into this position, and that position it would happen to be the position closest to the rear of the engine. And I was like, okay, I got you now. So once you get it to that point, then you can rotate it all the way to top dead center, and it'll come right off that crank pin. And the thing with this one was it was kind of freaky, because I don't know if you can see it in there or not, because it's a helicopter engine. The crank pin actually has an additional little dimple or extension in there, because interacts with this pull start mechanism. So the crankshaft itself is even a little bit larger. Lengthwise, crank pin is a little bit longer, and that also dictates the thickness of the boss inside the piston, because normally they don't really make it so that, well, I mean, a lot of engines are just like this where they've got a lot of room, but they had to make these piston bosses in here a lot thinner because of the fact that this one was going to have that extended crank pin engaging in that pull start mechanism. So that's the methodology for getting those things off. So if you have a two-stroke engine, you're trying to get the connecting rod piston out so you can change bearings on it, don't despair. It's just going to take patience and the understanding of the mechanics of why it's stuck like that. And like I said, it can be a one-time run engine that sat for 5 to 10 years, and it can be stuck. It can be brand new, just like this. And this engine dates back to probably 1988, 1990. And that may have been the last time it was run. And you can see that piston pin is perfectly shiny. And you're like, well, how can it possibly be stuck? Well, believe me, it can get stuck. It doesn't take much. And it does take effort to get that free. But so your key is being able to do this and have your piston flip-flop freely like that. Those are the things that are required to get a stubborn, seemingly stubborn connecting rod piston combination out of a two-stroke engine.